Time to talk about another big day of racing up at Woodbine. I gotta say, Woodbine, they do the really big days so well. It is the Breeders' Stakes, the final jewel of the OLG Canadian Triple Crown. We have a large field lining up. I think there are 14 entered with an also eligible, 14 entered with, I guess, a couple also eligible. So we will have a huge field, great betting opportunity. And keep in mind, at woodbine.com, they'll give you all the details, everything you need. You can get those free digital DRF PPs there and all the details on the big day. Plus, there's a $100,000 guaranteed early pick 5 every Saturday and every Sunday. A couple stakes races on the card, and the big highlight is the Breeders' Stakes. So what I'm going to do on this little video, I will talk about the early pick 5, races 2 through 6, and then we'll dive in and discuss the Breeders' Stakes a little bit. Remember, I'm going to look at the DRF past performances, those daily racing form PPs. You can get them for free when you sign up for a DRF Bets account. All you have to do, go right now to DRF Bets, use the promo code winning when you sign up, and then they'll give you a match deposit all the way up to $250. So why not take advantage of it? Deposit $250. They'll give you an extra $250. Boom. You got $500. They give you a $10 free bet for registering. And right off the bat, they load you up with 10 free formulator cards. A card is one track, like we're going to be looking at here for Woodbine for Sunday. Let's take a look here. Race 2 is when that early pick 5 kicks off. So $100,000 guaranteed pick 5 in the second. I like the one a little bit. Good News Money. This was down on the inside, was 4th, 5th, was in a little bit of traffic, then moved up to 3rd, was just behind the leaders, ended up not far behind Coco's Dream in here. Honestly, the couple horses that come out of that same race on September the 9th, I liked Good News Money, and then Princess on a Mission I thought was the horse to beat. I'll try to get out of this race just using those two. And hoping that, there just is not that much early speed in this race, right? So I'm thinking those two will be forwardly placed. I would imagine the 7, probably the 5, going to be, trying to show some speed, but the 5's not really fast. I think a horse that sort of just used the inside and push through. That's why I think the 1 sits a really nice trip in here. I'd love to see them get a bit aggressive and be either, taking advantage of the rail and getting on the lead, or getting close to it, sitting right behind possibly the 7, Princess on a Mission. Let's use 1 and 7 to kick off that early pick 5. It's race number 2. Third race. Now, in this one, I like the 5 a little bit super classy. Most recently, his last 2 races have been very, very good. Prior to that, he was just facing a little bit tougher. And he had some capable races. Like, he ran into the very sharp Quite Ready. He ran into Patches O'Houlihan in a race that's come back extremely live. Patches O'Houlihan, since then, he's won, I think, the next 2 to 3 races, because he's only lost 1 ever. And now he's won back-to-back graded stakes races. Aim for the Sky came out of that race to win next time out. And Gatling Gun also was a next out winner. So we're talking about an extremely live race that Super Classy exits most recently. And Super Classy, or that was the race that Super Classy was in, back in June. Recently, dropping down, that's when we've seen him show some improvement. And it's just because he's found a better level. And I think right here at this $25,000 claiming level, he's a nice fit off of that last effort. And he's shown the ability to come from off the pace, but he has some tactical speed. Lots of things to like about Super Classy. Others in here, the 2 Richies in the house, I think is an obvious player. This one should be Sending Hard. Having sort of a tough time figuring out exactly what happens with the pace. That's why I'm using the 2 more underneath, because I feel like he'll probably run into the 6 early on, and those 2 might be battling up front. The 4, Fitzpatrick, should get a good setup if that is the case. If those 2 end up battling, Fitzpatrick isn't as fast as them early, but shows some versatility. And again, he's a horse who has some tactical speed, doesn't need to be too far out of it, but he can finish. Also can come from way farther back if they're going too fast early. The 3, Halley's Hero. Another one who's just a major player, obviously. This is an 8-year-old who loves to win races. He's an 11-time winner. I just have him a couple low, some of the others in here. I thought 5-2, 4-3 was a good way to rank them, depending on how deep you want to go or how deep you can go in this race. That's how I stacked them. The fourth race, going 6 furlongs on the turf in here. I thought the 6 Proven Strategies, second off the short break, made some sense. This is a horse who's faced some pretty tough company, and as of late, he's had just some trouble putting races together. Look at his form. Seems like every time he's run off for a couple months, just has a hard time building that fitness level up when you're doing that constantly. I think he will be able to fire a big effort because he's stringing 2 races together in here. He's another, like we talked about in prior races, where he has some really nice positional speed, and he's kind of adaptable to a lot of different race shapes. Let's give Proven Strategies a big look. I thought the 8 was the horse to beat. Niagara Skyline doesn't have a whole lot of bad things to say about. I don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about this one. Doesn't have a whole lot of bad form lines. Loves this Woodbine turf course. Chance to just sit a nice trip throughout in here. Others that may be interesting. Sir Seamus, fella. This barn is excellent first start off the claim. And Seamus has some really nice races on the turf to go back to. If they can make any sort of adjustment with this new barn, Seamus could be intriguing at a price. The 7, like the lamp, not the rat. Like the lamp, not the rat. Horse who's pretty quick. And I hate dismissing this type of early speed. I think if anyone has a shot of going gate to wire in here, it might be this horse. And I see like maybe 2 major main speeds in here. And sometimes I have a hard time leaving one of those 2 out. So I threw in both Sir Seamus and Light the Lamp in case those are the 2 big speeds. 6, 8, 3, and 7. I'll use combinations of those. In the 5th race, it's the Ontario Damsel, 1.16 on the synthetic. I thought the 2 Sal's Blue Jacket has a shot to wire this field. She's not the most likely winner of this race. She's not quite as good as with her overall resume as what some of the others have proven, but she's lightly raced. Everything she's done makes sense. In her debut, she actually ran on the synthetic. Then she was off from September of 2022 all the way to June of this year. Showed back up in June at Delaware. Wired a field on the turf. Then was in a race that was taken off the turf on an off track at Colonial. Showed speed and then backed up. And then was a winner at Colonial last time out. And in this race, there's no other early speed. I think she's got to be in here to go. We'll see how good she is. But she's working well. She's run well in synthetic. She's lightly raced. She has some nice upside. And I think everyone else will be very content with their positions sitting off the pace. Let's see if she can catch a flyer in here. And the 3 and the 4 are obviously the major players. Love to Shop is the filly that beat the boys. And she came from way out of it. And again, it's hard to really knock much of what she's done. Solo Album tried the turf again last time out, but she's just much better on the synthetic. And she ran a big race here a couple starts back. I'm going to use the 2, though, as that flyer. The 3 and the 4 would be the logicals in here. Race 6 closes out that pick 5 sequence. I thought the 3 Contrivance with the blinkers coming off should be a pace factor in here and maybe able to relax a little bit with those blinks coming off. The 9 Sparklet feels like with any improvement, this guy's going to be right there. You've got the 1 Bar Talk who takes the blinkers off, dropping in class, pace factor at that one. Both the 6 and the 7 were horses that I could get to at prices. Samurai Challenge, his career debut, was not bad and then just missed the break last time out, so couldn't show any progression. The 6 Mucho Magnifico never got involved in the debut, but very capable win early barn, and this horse got action in that debut race. I went 3-9 as my top tier. I put the 1 Bar Talk as a next horse to use. Then below them would be the 6 and the 7. So there's a look at that pick 5 sequence for Sunday, the early pick five, $100,000 guaranteed. And remember, you can play for just a 20-cent based wager. In the Breeders, race number 9, you have 8 horses that return from the King's Plate. And this one is a 1.5-mile turf race. I love this field. I like this group of 3-year-olds. I really do. We have Cal Kokapu, who's been so consistent throughout. You've got Paramount Prince, who was the winner of the King's Plate, came back and was third, a really tough beat third in the Prince of Wales. You know, you have others in here like Elysian Field, who was the runner-up in the King's Plate, your Woodbine Oaks winner. You've got Wickenheiser, who was your Woodbine Oaks runner-up. And Wickenheiser then came back and was second last time out against fillies again. That was on the turf. So many really nice horses and different directions to go. I'm going to look at the number 11, though. Touch and Ride. So with Touch and Ride, he's lightly raced. In his career debut, he tried the turf, and it was very good. He made a big 4-wide move all the way up to contend, and he really kept grinding. He tried hard that day. He's worked on the turf recently, multiple times, and he's bred for the turf. In fact, he has 2 siblings that won on the turf, including Nipawa, who won this race back in 2018, the Breeders. So we've got a couple siblings that won on the turf, one of them that won this exact race. He's bred for this to go long. So everything to me that relates to turf is a positive for him. The only race he's shown on the turf was good, and it was in his debut. He's a better horse now. He can build off of that. He's worked on the turf a couple times since then, and he's bred for the grass and bred to go even longer. This is probably a trip he would prefer. In his second start, breaks his maiden, earns a 91 Beyer speed figure in winning that race, and heading into the King's Plate, he was actually the horse who had the best Beyer speed figure of any horses in the entire field. And now we've seen, Paramount Prince was able to surpass that in the King's Plate. But Touch and Ride wins impressively in that second start, just sits a really nice trip. And then in the King's Plate, we can watch it and take a look at the replay here. He's the number 11. Remember, we're in a field of 17. And it's just a tough trip for him. It's like how a lot of horses have a trip in the Kentucky Derby with so many horses and so much traffic. He's actually has a really good start. He's not far out of it early on. And you can see they're just trying to figure out where to go with him. And they don't want to be aggressive. So they decided to take back instead of chasing and getting out there with Paramount Prince. And now all of a sudden, instead of being in that second flight, Touch and Ride ends up getting a little too far back. He's out hooked wide. He's in between. He gets shuffled back. And he was way closer up. And I think he's going to be a lot closer up in here. I really do. Expecting him to be much more forwardly placed. And all of a sudden, look how far back he is now. Just not in a good spot. And remember, the winner of this race goes gate to wire. So there's no passing in this race. He's super wide. I think at this point, he's like 12th in the field. Way out wide before moving back into contention. So I didn't hold this race against him too much at all. Watch him try to make a big move here. He tries to go wide and get into contention, but the top horses had already separated. He's got the yellow cap here who's trying to angle out and come and get him. But all he can do is finish fifth. There's just not much passing going on here late. These horses who had all separated. Now can Touch and Ride just sit closer? I hope so. I think that's going to be the case in here. He's the play for me. He is 6-1 on the morning line. And if I can get anything over 4, I think that's fair value on him. I think he deserves to be probably the third choice in here. Behind Elysian Field and Paramount Prince. And so I think it's a great spot for Touch and Ride. There's a look at Sunday at Woodbine, another big Sunday at Woodbine. Next week is another big week at Woodbine. We'll make sure to have a video for you there, previewing all the big races, giving you all the details and all the information. Sunday, it's the Breeders' Stakes, Sunday, October the 1st. It's at the final jewel of the OLG Canadian Triple Crown. Don't forget, you can get those free DRF pass performances when you sign up and you play through DRF Bet.